Imagine yourself standing on a cliff overlooking the churning waters of the English Channel. The wind howls, carrying with it the echoes of centuries past. Below, the waves crash against the rocks, as relentless as the tides of history that have shaped this continent called Europe. From the ancient ruins of Rome to the bustling streets of Paris, Europe's story is a rich tapestry woven with threads of war, peace, art, and discovery. Our journey begins over 2,000 years ago in the heart of a fledgling empire. Rome, a city of hills and legends, was not always the sprawling empire we imagine today. It started as a small settlement on the banks of the Tiber River, ruled by kings and surrounded by enemies. But Rome was destined for greatness, driven by ambition and the sheer will of its people. Under the Republic, it expanded, conquering lands far and wide, from the deserts of North Africa to the cold reaches of Britannia. Julius Caesar, a name synonymous with power, is one of the central figures in Rome's rise. Born into a patrician family, Caesar was a man of immense ambition. He became a military genius, leading his legions to victories in Gaul and crossing the Rubicon, a river in Italy, which marked the point of no return. This act of defiance against the Senate led to a civil war and eventually Caesar's dictatorship. But his reign was short-lived. His assassination on the Ides of March in 44 BC marked the end of the Roman Republic and the beginning of the Roman Empire. Under the first emperor Augustus, Rome entered a period known as the Pax Romana, a time of relative peace and stability. The empire flourished, its roads stretching from the sands of the Sahara to the forests of Germania. The Colosseum, a marvel of engineering, stood as a symbol of Roman might, where gladiators fought and spectacles were held. But all empires rise and fall, and Rome was no exception. In the 5th century, the Western Roman Empire crumbled under the weight of internal strife and barbarian invasions. As Rome fell, darkness descended upon Europe, a time known as the Middle Ages. But even in this so-called Dark Age, there were glimmers of light. Monasteries became centers of learning, where monks meticulously copied ancient texts by candlelight, preserving the knowledge of the past. In the far north, the Vikings emerged from the fjords of Scandinavia, their long ships cutting through the seas like knives. They raided and traded, leaving an indelible mark on Europe. Yet these fierce warriors were also settlers and explorers. Leif Erikson, a Norse explorer, is believed to have reached the shores of North America long before Columbus. The Middle Ages also saw the rise of powerful kingdoms and the spread of Christianity. In 800 AD on Christmas Day, Charlemagne, the king of the Franks, was crowned Emperor of the Romans by Pope Leo III, reviving the idea of a united Christian Europe. His empire, known as the Carolingian Empire, became a beacon of learning and culture, with scholars flocking to his court. But unity was fleeting, and Europe soon fractured into a patchwork of feudal states. Castles dotted the landscape, towering over the peasants who worked the land. Knights clad in shining armor pledged their loyalty to lords, fighting in countless battles for power and territory. The Crusades, a series of religious wars, were launched to reclaim the Holy Land from Muslim control. But they also fueled trade and cultural exchange between Europe and the East. In the midst of this turmoil, a deadly enemy appeared, one that no sword or shield could defend against. The Black Death swept through Europe in the 14th century, killing millions and leaving towns and villages desolate. The plague, caused by the bacterium Yersinia pestis, was carried by fleas on rats, and it spread like wildfire. The very fabric of society was torn apart as people struggled to make sense of the devastation around them. Yet from this darkness, Europe would emerge transformed. Peace was fragile. In the wake of the war, Europe was left in ruins. But even as the dust settled, a new and more terrifying threat emerged. Adolf Hitler, a charismatic but ruthless leader, rose to power in Germany, promising to restore the nation to greatness. His vision of a pure Aryan race led to the Holocaust, the systematic extermination of 6 million Jews and millions of others. World War II, sparked by Hitler's invasion of Poland in 1939, was a conflict on an unprecedented scale. It ended in 1945 with the defeat of Nazi Germany and the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The post-war era saw Europe divided by the Iron Curtain as the Cold War pitted the United States and its allies against the Soviet Union. Germany was split in two, with the Berlin Wall becoming the stark symbol of a divided continent. But amid the tension, Europe began to rebuild. The Marshall Plan, an American initiative, provided aid to war-torn Europe. The Renaissance, a rebirth of art, culture, and knowledge, began in Italy in the 14th century and spread across Europe. It was a time of great thinkers like Leonardo da Vinci, who painted the enigmatic Mona Lisa, and Michelangelo, whose sculpture of David embodied the ideals of human beauty. The printing press, invented by Johannes Gutenberg in the mid-15th century, revolutionized the spread of knowledge, making books more accessible and sparking an intellectual revolution. As the Renaissance flourished, so too did the Age of Exploration. Driven by a desire for wealth and knowledge, explorers like Christopher Columbus set sail across uncharted waters. In 1492, Columbus reached the Americas, opening a new chapter in human history. The discovery of the New World led to an era of colonization and conquest, as European powers vied for dominance. In the 16th century, the Reformation shattered the religious unity of Europe. Martin Luther, a German monk, nailed his 95 Theses to the door of the Wittenberg Castle Church, challenging the authority of the Catholic Church. His actions set off a chain of events that led to the Protestant Reformation, dividing Europe into Protestant and Catholic states. The wars of religion that followed were brutal, culminating in the 30 Years' War, a conflict so devastating that it reshaped the political landscape of Europe. Amid the chaos of war and religious strife, new ideas began to take root. The Enlightenment and intellectual movement of the 17th and 18th centuries championed reason, science, and the rights of the individual. Philosophers like Voltaire and Rousseau questioned the old order, laying the groundwork for modern democracy. Their ideas would inspire revolutions on both sides of the Atlantic, most notably the French Revolution. In 1789, the people of France, oppressed by years of inequality and tyranny, rose up against King Louis XVI. The storming of the Bastille, a fortress prison in Paris, became a symbol of the revolution. The old regime was swept away, and the guillotine became the grim symbol of revolutionary justice. But the revolution soon spiraled out of control, leading to the reign of terror and the rise of a young general named Napoleon Bonaparte. Napoleon, a master strategist, seized power and declared himself Emperor of the French. His ambition knew no bounds, and he embarked on a campaign to conquer Europe. From the deserts of Egypt to the snows of Russia, Napoleon's armies marched with unparalleled speed and efficiency, but his empire, like so many before it, was destined to fall. The Battle of Waterloo in 1815 marked the end of his reign and the beginning of a new era in Europe. The 19th century was a time of great change. The Industrial Revolution transformed Europe as factories sprang up and cities grew. Steam engines powered locomotives and ships, shrinking distances and accelerating the pace of life. But with progress came conflict. Nationalism, a powerful force, swept across the continent, leading to the unification of Germany and Italy and the breakdown of old empires. The 20th century dawned with the promise of progress, but quickly descended into the horrors of war. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand in 1914 triggered a chain reaction that led to World War I, a conflict that engulfed Europe and the world. Trench warfare, poison gas, and machine guns turned the battlefields into slaughterhouses. The war ended in 1918 with the signing of the Treaty of Versailles, but helped to restore its economies. The latter half of the 20th century saw the rise of the European Union, a bold experiment in unity and cooperation. The fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989 marked the end of the Cold War and the beginning of a new chapter in European history. The continent that had been torn apart by centuries of conflict was now striving for peace and integration. Today, Europe stands as a testament to the resilience of its people. From the ancient ruins of Rome to the modern skyscrapers of London, its history is a story of rise and fall, of triumph and tragedy. The winds of change continue to blow across this continent, shaping its future even as they carry with them the echoes of the past. And as you stand on that cliff, overlooking the churning waters of the English Channel, you can almost hear the voices of those who came before. Caesar and Charlemagne, Da Vinci and Luther, Napoleon and Churchill. They whisper of a past that is never truly gone, but woven into the very fabric of the land beneath your feet.